reaching rock bottom, it was like, this can't get no worse. I done lost my mom. I done lost my homie. I done lost myself. I done got fired from the radio station from being too crazy. This can't get no worse.
Yeah.
Went through a lot of just different like mental hurdles. Kind of just was trying to overdose, man. Trying to do a lot of different things to try to numb the pain.
I haven't lost a parent.
Yeah.
Walk me through the process of how you went through that experience.
Like sex and alcohol is really my thing, to be honest, to try to numb it, and then kind of get to a point where it's like, man, this ain't working. Like the bottle's empty, but my problems are still full. And took a trip to Mexico, man, and my ex-girlfriend at the time, we just kind of like had like a lot of just like different emotions, different feelings and arguments, and I was like, man, I'm tired.
Yeah.
So she left the room. I was Googling how to overdose, man. And
when you meet incredible people, they also introduce you to incredible people. So if you are the kind of person who wants to have an impact and you don't know where to start, you're struggling to understand where you fit in, but you know that there's something that you need to do in the community and there's something that you're purpose for, today's guest just might be able to give you a few pointers, because if you've seen him around LA, you've seen him throwing events, you've seen him on Spectrum News LA, you've seen him doing the work every single day. Today's guest is the founder of Project Pit and also responsible for the I Love Myself initiative, which I know they just did their 3rd annual event here recently. So let me introduce you to Mr. Carlton Epic Roberts. Welcome to the show, bro.
my guy, thank you for having me, man. Excited to be here. Glad you got this done, for real.
Man, glad. Also, one other thing I'll share with you, this man is one of incredible patience. Man, first time we were supposed to do this, had to push him back, had a little delay this morning, but again, you meet incredible people, they introduce you to incredible people. Also those with incredible patience. This man here, he lives by the name Epic. So
let's get it, man. Let's get it. Delayed ain't denied. That's what my granny used to tell me, man. So,
yes, sir.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the Epic, man. Where does it come from? How did that become a part of the entire brand?
Man, honestly, bro, I started doing radio. I used to work at KJLH radio station.
Okay.
Shout out to Stevie Wonder, gave me my first job, man, on-air personality. And they was like, what you gonna call yourself when you get on air? You just gonna say Carlton? And then I was just like, nah, it's gonna be Epic. So then ever since then, it's been Carlton Epic.
Yeah.
So man, locked in on that and kind of just been building from there.
But hold on, let's not skip over the fact that you just said Stevie Wonder gave you your first job. How does that come about, bro?
Man, so I interned at KJLH for about a year, no pay.
Yeah.
At that time, I was trying to figure out what I was about to do. I thought I was gonna go to the Air Force. My mom was like, you're either gonna have to go work, go to school, do something.
Yeah.
I was in school, Santa Monica College, trying to figure it out. And then I saw an internship with KJLH. I saw all these cool young kids just setting up events. I'm like, man, they getting paid doing their thing. They wasn't getting paid, but they still were a part of something epic,
right,
man. And then I just felt in love with radio at the time, just the connection of like community and being able to connect with the people. So I was like, man, I'll do this. And I was having so much fun. I didn't even think about pay, man. I was just enjoying it so much. Then a year later, they ended up offering me a job as an overnight personality at the station. So I was on air from like midnight to 5 a.m. Crazy stories, great times, man. And obviously to get to that next step, Stevie has to approve of, all on-air personalities. And then, I got the green light for him. And it was a wrap from there when it came to that experience. So
that's love.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you, because I feel like people hearing this, they're going to want to hear it.
Yeah.
Let's hear the intro, bro. How'd you come on?
I'd be like, 102.3 Radio Free KJLA, just your boy Carlton Epic, then kind of coming in, man, and just vibing.
Yeah.
Had that late night voice at the time. I was like 22, 23, and then I was an older radio station.
Yeah.
So it was about like 40 plus, so they be calling in thinking I'm like, this age, but I'm really 22, 23 years old at the time, man. But it was a great experience because I felt like I could tap into just like a deeper chakra, you know what I mean?
Right.
And just bring a whole different experience, so yeah.
And what about that experience has shaped the way that you maneuver today?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it really made me, because I feel like radio and even podcasting, how it's evolved into, is like one of the most intimate forms of entertainment, because you can actually connect and talk to the listeners.
Facts.
Like, Denzel shoot a movie, you can't call him and ask him his opinion about it. So that's what I thought was always cool, and just the connection of community and the residents and the station. So that honestly sparked me from starting my own company, Project Pit, because I had a seat at that time working with different artists, I was able to connect with different business owners because they're advertising at the station. And then I'm seeing the effect when I'm announcing something on air. Maybe when I wasn't, because I was working midnight to 5, so not many people listening.
Right.
But like when Steve Harvey or Tammy Mack will be on air and they say, meet me here 4 o'clock, and then 500 people show up.
That's
I was
crazy.
like, yo, it's crazy. So seeing that impact made me realize just, the importance of it.
Yeah. And on the note of impact, you are doing a ton just in the community, from events to just working with people, working with kids, giving out toys, the whole nine. And I've known Carlton just based on the introduction that I got from a mutual friend, and just seeing the stuff that he's been doing, traveling and putting stuff together, like the I Love Myself initiative. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. With the I Love Myself initiative, honestly, during COVID, I felt like we all realized, like, we all dealing with something. We don't know what it is, but we all dealing with something. And then personally, I was going through just a lot of grief. I lost my mom. I lost one of my close homies. And then I lost my grandma. So it was just like back to back to back grief.
Yeah.
And during that time, I ended up losing myself, losing my purpose, losing so much, just lost a lot. So it was really hard to look in the mirror and say, I love myself. Like, it sounded so easy, but it was hard to do. And then I realized, like, I'm not the only one dealing with something. So I wanted to kind of find a way where we invoked entertainment. We may not be saying, hey, come sign up for therapy, but when you listen to the speakers on stage, when you listen to the artists, everybody's telling their story, and we mobilizing a group of people that may not, show up for therapy or may show up for yoga, but they'll come out to this, and then they'll make them aware of, like, I'm not the only one dealing with this, and then they'll, eventually sign up for different things that helps them.
That's wild. There's a blog that I wrote a couple years ago, and this is right on the back end of me losing my brothers.
Damn.
I said, I lost my brothers, then I lost myself.
Sheesh.
Because, like you said, it happened so quickly, bro. And I'm talking, I had a brother get locked up, and I talk about this, so I feel like I'm, regurgitating the same information over and over. But I had a brother get locked up, and then I had a brother who passed by suicide.
Damn.
And then 7 months later, I had another brother who passed by suicide. So it was like, it was all happening so quick. I'm like, bro, how am I supposed to deal with this? And so, like, trying to navigate that experience has really reshaped the way that I view the world. And one of the things I started saying then was, it's going to hurt, but it won't kill you.
Damn.
And I took that, and that really allowed me to be open and transparent and be vulnerable, to create spaces like this for people to be able to talk through that. But enough about me.
That's amazing though, man.
Like, how, because I haven't lost a parent.
Yeah.
Walk me through the process of how you went through that experience.
Man, that was my biggest fear, losing my mom, and it happened so unexpectedly. In July of, it's been 10 years now, of 2014, she just went to go get a physical.
Wow.
Random physical. And then they were saying, like, she had like a lump in her breast. Fast forward, she ended up having that removed in about August, early September. She was fine, then took chemotherapy, took her first dose on Halloween, then ended up passing 9 days later.
Wow.
But it was tough, a single parent household. So like my mom was like, my everything. And then, when she's single, it's just like you kind of playing a lot of different roles, making sure she's good, protecting her, and vice versa. So it was tough. It was tough. And especially the way it happened, it just happened so quickly. But once I really kind of went through like grief therapy, it's like, the people who are on the side of like, dang, my person passed so quick, then the person who was on the other side, they had to watch their person suffer. You hear all the different perspectives, and it makes you realize we still both lost something, even though you wish it would have happened a different way. But man, it was tough. But went through a lot of just different like mental hurdles. Kind of just was trying to overdose, man, trying to do a lot of different things to try to numb the pain. Like sex and alcohol is really my thing, to be honest, to try to numb it. And then kind of getting to a point where it's like, man, this ain't working. Like, the bottle's empty, but my problems are still full. And took a trip to Mexico, man, and my ex-girlfriend at the time. We just kind of like had like a lot of just like different emotions, different feelings and arguments. And I was like, man, I'm tired. Yeah. So she left the room. I was Googling how to overdose, man, and figured out a little formula, man, and ran the bathtub water. And by the grace of God, man, she had came back when she came, pulled me out that bathtub, bro. And after that, that's when kind of my healing journey started, because it was like, I didn't want nobody to know what happened. She was like, all right, I'm not going to tell nobody, but you got to promise me you about to start making next steps into improving yourself and not focusing on these different things. And that's why I ended up signing up for GriefTherapy. And then that helped me to see things in a different light, because people were saying go to therapy, but for me, being individualized and talking to somebody one-on-one, I felt like the spotlight was on me too much.
Yeah.
Versus grief therapy, it's 10 to 15 people dealing with the same thing that you're dealing with, and you feeling like you're not alone. So
Right.
now I done found my community. Now I'm able to talk, and then that led me to be more comfortable to actually go to therapy and kind of dealing with it in a more positive way, if you would say. So,
Wow.
yeah, man.
Wow. What a story. I've had a lot of these conversations, bro, but that level of transparency in what you just shared, quite frankly, I'm speechless because it takes a lot to even be comfortable enough to talk through it.
Yeah.
But to actually share it, it's incredible. And so kudos to you for being open enough to share that, bro. But why, let me ask you, why share it right now? Why is it important more for you to share that right now?
Yeah, because I think if I had somebody being able to be transparent with me and make me realize, like, you always hear, like, A, where you start, Z, where you'll end up.
Yeah.
But nobody really tells you those details on what you're dealing with from the letters all the way leading up to Z.
Yeah.
So I'm just, like, in a space now where it's like, if I could help somebody else get up from that floor, then I feel like everything I went through was worth it. You know, fall down 9 times, get up 10. Like, that's what my motivation is. Like, no matter how many times you fall, there's always a chance to get back up. And I fell a lot, even just financially. Like, people don't even talk about it through the grieving process. Like, you know, my mom passed away. She had a life insurance policy after the funeral, and everything is itemized. It's about like, I had like $20,000 left over. I stopped working thinking, oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
Good. Like, paying what?
Right.
So I went from that on top of like whatever savings I had to now being in the hole minus $10,000, sleeping in my car for like a week, moved back to my grandma's house to try to figure back my life. And by the grace of God, I was able to kind of get back into a more healthy place, become more stable, and get to where, you know, I'm building to right now, man.
Yeah.
So I just like being as transparent as possible because it's like, you know, if you've been through something, I've been through something, we helping each other. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And that's what it's about, man. And I feel like people don't unpack those things. So I think it's important to share as best as you can.
Absolutely. And I think, quite frankly, none of this would have been possible in the way if we're not transparent, if we're not creating spaces for these kind of conversations. Because what it is for me, to your point, like, we don't talk about the entire grieving process. We only get bits and pieces. Because I know, man, when I lost my brothers and I'm navigating this, I was spending money like crazy.
Man, you
like,
do.
everywhere.
You
And
do.
I'm like, man, I looked at what I spent in 2022 and 2023. I was like, I didn't even know I had that much money.
Man,
Like
that emotional spending is real.
Yeah.
People don't talk about that.
Yeah, and I think too, like, even just in an analogous way, like the emotional spending of like the finances is one thing, but you're also emotionally spending yourself.
Exactly.
Your mental capacity and all the things that happen as a result of that. And like you said, just you thought your pain was gonna go away at the bottom of that bottle, but that's not how it works out.
Man.
And I think we've seen that in so many different scenarios. But I had a friend, which you also know, Caleb.
Yeah.
Caleb told me.
Shout out Caleb.
Yeah, shout out Caleb always. Caleb told me a few years ago, he was like, once we're in that grieving process, we try to get on so fast.
Man.
Because obviously part of Caleb's story, Caleb lost his brother before I did. And so as I'm going through my experience, he's sharing with me and he's making sure that I get outside.
Yeah.
There's a picture that he took, and once we get done, I'll show it to you.
Yeah.
But there's a picture that he took of me, and bro, that was the only time I had smiled that entire day.
Wow.
Because Caleb invited me out. He said, hey, bro, just meet me out here. We'll grab food wherever you want to go. I got you. But he took that picture, and that was the only time that I smiled that whole day, bro.
Wow.
But I think that's also the importance of sharing and creating community. And, you know, honestly, to your point and to what you're doing, what you're building is how you learn to love yourself.
Exactly.
Because I had to learn to love myself in a completely new way, bro.
Exactly, man. And that's so real, man, because the way you broke that down, it just like reminded me like the process and the steps that go with all of this that we don't really realize until we have these conversations and really talk about it.
100%.
For real.
And let's like share with the people more about the I Love Myself initiative, because on the back end of that, you realize I have to love myself. So talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, shout out to the I Love Myself team. So right now we focus on our festival. We take place during Mental Health Awareness Month in May. Focus breaking the negative stigma on mental health. Last year we had Mario, a lot of other amazing local artists come out and show it love. This year we plan to do it again. We're also looking to bring it to the city of Riverside and the city of Inglewood this year to expand its footprint. But in the meantime, because everybody's like, well, the festival only happens once a year, what do we do throughout the rest of the months? We launching, and this is an exclusive right here, I Love Myself concert series. So we're partnering with AEG, working with just certain venues out here locally where we'll bring artists to the stage. They'll perform, share their story. Then we plan I launched I Love Myself brunch, where it's focused more on just community food conversations, organic vibe. And so that's just the main focus right now with the initiative and Planet trying to bring it worldwide, man. So that's the goal. So
what does that look like? Let's say a couple years from now, how do you imagine it evolves?
Man, what I imagine is I love myself Brazil. I love myself Africa. Everybody has to love themselves in a different way, man. And expanding our audience to not only just millennials, Gen Zennials, but even I Love Myself Senior Edition.
Yep.
Last year we worked with the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health. We brought the same initiative to senior homes. Like all the time we think about youth, but like the seniors that are in these isolated facilities where they need love, they need that emotion, they need that community and that feeling. And we brought that to them during the month of May, where we brought, mental health experts to have conversations. We brought artists there to sing and like perform for them. So we plan to do that as well. And then lastly, our I Love Myself school tour. We go inside the schools and bring the same thing to them on more of an educational realm. So.
Hey, man, if you're listening and you are not inspired by what this man is talking about, there is something wrong with you. One of the things I share with people is, so obviously when things happen in your life, you become more aware of the things that are happening that are similar to that. So I started to do a lot more research on suicide. And one of the things, there's a couple of things I'll share with you. One of them being men represent around 50% of the population, but 79% of suicide.
Sheesh.
But in addition to that, there's also the rate of increase for suicide is going up for people that are seniors.
Wow.
And it's because of what you just said.
Yeah,
so
man.
it's obviously a ton of impactful work, a lot of purposeful work that you're doing. And it's going to, and it's already changing lives, because literally we talked about it on Spectrum News LA here.
Man, that's love.
I saw that. And one of the things that you shared there was about Project Pit, where you said we all start at the bottom of our dreams, but then we have to rise from our pit. And
we got to.
Yeah, we have to rise from our pit. So talk a little bit about Project Pit.
Yeah, absolutely. Project Pit is the parent organization that we funnel everything through, all our programming. But to your point, everything you just said started from the bottom, no matter your gender, your race, your sexuality. I know we're in this political climate right now, but no matter how different we all appear to be, we all still have to start at the bottom of our dreams. The only way we can really do that is we rise together. So that's why our program and our initiatives, even the clients that we work with, all the work represents that, and there's been moments where we've just created things that really align with that, man. So that's where we are, and that's just the message. Like I'm kind of done being quiet. I'm kind of done trying to be too cool. Now I'm ready to be outside, ready to do the work, ready to touch the people and figure out how we can connect, collaborate, and build together. And I think it's important more than ever to organize, rebuild, and like grow together.
And taking a step back really quick, I saw another interview that you did, and you talked about having to come up with $8,000 in 2 days. Yeah. You want to share it?
Man, it was crazy. I'm not going to put this sponsor out there, but they backed out. And then we had a council office that backed out when it came to the funds. So, when you organizing things, when it comes to events, we had grant funding that sustained like our basic programming. Right. But then we were taking things to the next level. Long story short, sponsor, elected officials pulled out. So we were short $8,000 in 2 days. And that kind of reminded me, like, all right, stop being cool. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Because it either was, I'm pulling this $8,000 out my personal, which we not about to do. We not about to do. Done it. Don't want to do it again. So I got to get on the phone. Yeah. And literally within that same day, was able to find that $8,000 and find that help. And we figured it out. But it all stemmed from just not being afraid to ask for help. Even if a friend couldn't do it, they pointed me into the right direction of a friend. And if they couldn't do it, they pointed me in the right direction, and it just all worked out. So I appreciate you bringing that up because I forgot about that. I need to get back into that mode right now that I needed in 2 days, So I appreciate that.
Shoot, I need something in 2 days.
Yeah,
too.
man. So
we
keep that energy for the rest of the year.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to call you and see, like, where my mentality and where things going.
100%, 100%. And that also speaks a little bit to community as well. not only just from a community standpoint of what you're doing within your local community, but in addition, just the community of the people that you have around you. What type of people do you feel is important to have around you as you're doing this kind of work?
And absolutely, I think it's important to have people who are experts in what they do and who are smarter than you. Like, I feel like my whole team is smarter than you, smarter than me. You know what I mean? I think that's so
Likely
important.
smarter than me too.
Right? And smarter than me, man, and doing different things. And I think that allows you to just create in a magical way and then having the bar of excellence, because this mind is thinking this way, this mind is thinking this way, then we all got to rise up together in how we thinking and building and growing. So I think that's important. And people who believe in the mission and see the vision. And that's why I'm so grateful for my team. They've been around from the beginning, the inception, from our rocky moments to even our transition moments like right now. And I'm just so grateful, bro. So blessed.
Yeah, and just even thinking about as an entrepreneur, as a leader, your job is heavy. Your role is heavy. So you always have to carry everything on your back, from the team to the stuff like raising $8,000 in 2 days. You have to carry all of that. But what inspires you on a day-to-day as an entrepreneur?
Honestly, man, just not having to wait on anybody, because I know what that feeling is to just wait. And sometimes people
waited this morning.
Right?
You waited on me.
and I don't like that. You know what I mean? Sometimes people take advantage of, like, you know, you do a service and then they may wait, but it's like, I don't want to wait. I don't have time to wait, because, like, you know, losing my mom in 12 hours is like, I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, so I don't want to wait anymore. I want to give it all I have today. And with that said, like, I want to create and be in charge of my own destiny. Like, there are moments where I think it's important to be able to be around, you know, infrastructures that are like consistent paychecks and things like that. And I think it's important. Like, I don't knock the whole 9-to-5 thing. Like, I was just in one 5 months ago, you know what I mean? And got out of it and transitioned back to full time to make sure, you know, I'm not pulling out of my business money and things like that. But at the same time, that motivates me to know, like, I'm pulling my weight and bringing what I need to the table for my team.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And one of the questions that I like to ask on here, and you can feel free not to answer it, so I'm gonna just preface by saying that, but there's a lot of people who can hear your story, what you've been through, and they can see themselves in your story, but they can't see themselves on the other side. So they can see themselves like, oh, I can relate to Carlton. I've been through this, or I'm going through this right now, but it's so dark for me right now that I can't see myself on the other side. For that person, what kind of advice would you provide them?
Yeah, it's funny because my grandma, she's like so spiritual, so biblical, and always just dropping these verses. And she talk about, like, weeping shall endure for the night, but joy come in the morning. But I'm like, if tomorrow is here, I'm still crying. What does that really mean? But it really means, like, this may be happening now, but joy is promised on the other side. It may take 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, but that joy is coming in the morning if you continue to believe and not stop. And finally, for me, I think reaching rock bottom, it was like, this can't get no worse. Like, I done lost my mom. I done lost my homie. I done lost myself. I done lost my finances. I done got fired from the radio station from being too crazy. And now I'm just in, like, my lowest point. Like, this can't get no worse. Like, I was really there, and it got better. You know what I mean? And having that mentality, I think, makes you realize, like, if I can experience and endure this, when that next problem comes, I'll be able to do it off that experience. And that's the way I see it now. So I'm not gonna lie, like, sometimes it'd be like, ooh, I don't know if I can get through this. But you gotta look in that rear view mirror sometimes. Like, and it's kind of like that Pac-Man game. Like, level 1, they be coming at you, like, slow. Level 2, they start coming at you quicker. You gotta change up. I think that's what it is. Like, new levels, new devils, but understanding it's the same approach. It's just a different problem, but there's always a solution.
Yeah, I'm gonna share a quote with you. And I want to hear how you respond to it, or what resonates with you from this quote. So I was on LinkedIn like earlier this year, and I can't remember who it was. It wasn't Dawn, but it was a women's basketball coach, and she was talking to her team about their experience and how as they rise up, things get harder. And a lot of them expect things to get easier, but what she said was, things don't get easier. We just learn to handle hard better. I was like, yo,
that's deep.
Wait a minute.
That's deep, bro. That's deep.
How does that resonate with you?
Man, I think that is so real, because, like, you'd be like, damn, how the hell did I get through this? But you learn. You know what I mean? Kind of having that same approach of, stuff is going to get hard, it's going to get challenging, but you can't fold. If you fold, then you're going to live in regret. And that's a place I don't want to live anymore. I ain't going to lie, like, it's been probably like 2 years just living in regret, sometimes going through all those different things, you kind of scared to do anything.
Right.
You know, kind of getting to the point of losing everything is like, I don't want to get close to nobody, or I don't want to start this business no more because it's going to be lost. You done seen the end, but it reminds you that you can do it and rebuild again. And that's okay because you learn about yourself. And shout out to my mentor, Tish. She always talks about like how she was in a relationship, she stopped the relationship, and she started a new business, and that business reached like its highest peak because that pain turned into just purpose. And that's what it always does, I feel like. So,
My therapist called it post-traumatic growth, because you go through these experiences and you're like, man, this is super hard. But to your point, man, I was like, I could lose anything at any given moment.
Yeah.
So I need to take advantage of this moment, which part of it could be considered to be toxic in a way.
Right.
Or toxic positivity, as they say. But I'm like, shoot, I'm getting stuff done. Because I know things could be taken from me immediately.
Exactly.
Man, getting that phone call that my brother was gone, not once, but twice, I'm like, I don't have time to waste.
Yeah.
I don't have the space to waste. I need to get things going right now. And so for me, it just pushed me to remember like what I became in that process. And I think one of the things that we don't talk about is going through those experiences and how it reshapes you, it reshapes your mind. I was in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
And I try to stay in great shape anyway, but I was in the best shape of my life trying to go through that, because they say don't just go through it, grow through it. And I feel like I was growing through that entire process. So
I love that.
And
you said, what'd you say,
post-traumatic growth.
I love that.
Yeah, post-traumatic growth. There was another thing he shared with me. He was like, because I was moving and operating in a certain way, he was like, man, you would set yourself on fire for everybody else to stay warm.
Sheesh.
I said, damn, you have to do me like that. But he was right. And so I think, kind of tying it back together, I had to learn to love myself, because I was pouring out into everybody else in that process and giving everybody else everything that they needed. But I was also forgetting about me, because I said I could sacrifice myself so I don't have to lose anything else.
Man.
And so I had to reshape my mind even around that, because there's even things right now I have to catch myself. And I'm like, well, if I lose it, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And granted, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to have this sort of mentality in terms of detaching from these material things. But the reality, though, is things could be gone.
And exactly. And you experienced that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things could be gone. And so I just try to put myself, at least in a positive space. So I, meditate every morning. I obviously get my workouts and stuff in, and doing all the stuff mentally, spiritually, physically, financially to take care of myself. And I know I'm getting long-winded here, but I'm about to make a point. I feel like I'm a preacher right now. But and my dad's a pastor, by the way. So
hello.
One of the things that you talked about is inspiring, educating, and creating positive change.
Yeah.
Why don't you share a little bit more about that and what you're doing to do that outside of, I Love Myself Initiative and Project Pick?
Yeah, I think outside of that, a part of this movement is called the King's Table.
Okay.
Where we bring men together, and it's a brotherhood, and we just talk about just everything on our mind, and it's a safe space where we can just be us. We had the cigars or whatever you into, the drinks, the food, and it's just a safe space for us to be together. And I think, everything starts within, and it starts with home, but having like-minded individuals around you, but then also like-minded individuals that's going to push you to be better. And that's what I love about the King's Table, and we're bringing it back next year where we can just come together. And you have that sense of accountability, but you're also looking at somebody in the mirror who's doing something as well and can hold you accountable and just push you. And I think that's just so important as we build. So
yeah. What do you feel, because obviously with men's work and just working with just people in general, but specifically since this podcast is called The Disciplined Man, I got to ask you, what do you feel like is the number one thing men struggle with?
I think, is just discipline sexually. I personally think raw sex is messing up like a lot of men. Yeah. Truthfully. I was in a barbershop, I was doing a little Venn diagram. We were just talking about a topic, and it was just so interesting to me. And I was analyzing myself too. I was like, man, we gotta slow down. Because not only like sexually, but emotionally, you connecting in a deeper way that you may not realize. Right. And I think that discipline sexually is important. And then also not being afraid to ask for help. Right. I feel like that's where a general struggle is I can't ask him for help because he's a man. I'm a man. Right. We need each other. We need help. Right. So I think those two things is just like, yeah.
I do not think you're wrong about that, my brother. So just to reiterate, but aside from that, man, if you could look at yourself from 10 years ago, what would you say you're most proud of as you sit here today?
Man, I would be like, no way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. And not even just about accomplishments or things that I've been able to do from a work end. Like, that stuff is great. And it gives you just like the sense of, okay, I did this. But emotionally, like November 10th was the anniversary of my mom's transition. And typically, like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to do anything. Don't hit me up. This year, I didn't even realize until like my cousin called me, like, hey, just checking on you. Like, checking on me for what? It's your mom's transition. I was like, wow. Like, I'm just in a better place with it. 'Cause I feel like I'm talking to her spiritually. Yeah, I have my days where I'm sad, but I was like, wow, really? So I think in that area, man, emotionally, not being so dependent on, alcohol and sex. Like, now I feel like I'm doing those things, when I want to do them. You know what I mean? Versus just being controlled by those certain vices and other things as well. So I'm just grateful to be able to stand up in a different way. So
what would mom say?
She'd be like, what?
Yeah.
My son's doing this, because before she transitioned, she was around, when I was interning. So I couldn't get her in no events.
Right.
Couldn't do nothing, you know, versus now it's like, I'm at different things. And like, man, if my mom was here, she'd be like what? And even her best friend had called me. She's like, yo, your mom would be so proud of you. I was like, man, so that stuff just always fills my heart, man. And anybody else dealing with grief too, just knowing like your person is always there with you.
Yeah.
And it's never ending. Even though physically you may not feel like it,
100%.
being able to tap back into that spiritually, mentally, kind of like Lion King, Simba's able to tap in with Mufasa. Like, that movie got a lot of context when you really break it down, man.
Bro, Disney movies are crazy.
It's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Like, all those movies.
Yeah.
And it kind of had that moment, man, where I'm like, nah, she's here, so.
I love it. Last question for you. For that person who is struggling right now and trying to find themselves, trying to understand after they have just lost somebody, or after they just lost a job, or after they just lost something important, what's the one piece of advice you want to give them?
Yeah, and I think you just made a great point with just how you broke that down. If they lost a job, people sometimes always look at grief, which is death. But we grieve in relationships, like you're breaking up with somebody, you lose a job. I think it's important just not being afraid of your emotions. Like, I've been afraid of my emotions for so long because I've been so afraid to connect to them. There's so much power in it, because you're able to acknowledge what's going on itself, and then you're able to humanize and connect with other people. But just don't be afraid of your emotions. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be upset, but you don't have to stay there,
Right.
And then once I feel like you acknowledge that, you're able to encounter individuals like yourself or find your community. Is a community out there for you? And I think that's important, man.
You're rising up from the pit, bro.
Rising up for the pit, man. Let's get it. We gotta rise. We're gonna rise together, and that's important. And that's the season I'm in now. Like, I'm turning this me into we. Like, I don't want to do this alone. I don't want to score 30 by myself. I'm trying to win a championship now, bro. I'm trying to get to that millionaire bracket, not only financially, mentally, and emotionally, but I know I can't do that alone, man. And I'm tired of being alone, just in all levels. So now I'm ready to build with right people, man. So if you're hearing this, hit me up, connect, let's collab and grow, and let's build.
Speaking of which, where can the people find you?
Absolutely. Follow me on Instagram at Carlton Epic, at Project Pit. I'm on LinkedIn as well, Carlton Roberts. Email me, carlton@projectpit.com, and let's figure out how we can build and grow together and how we can rise together, how we can turn this me into we. So,
man, I appreciate you, brother. You have honestly been as transparent as I could have asked. So I appreciate you.
We got to be, man. You set the atmosphere, man, where this space can't be that. So I appreciate you opening up this door and continue doing what you're doing.
I appreciate it, bro. One of the things I say every week is discipline equals freedom, but the core values of authenticity, integrity, and resilience remain universal. We are the disciplined man, and this is what real men think. Carlton, appreciate you, bro.
Man, let's get it, man.
Yes, sir.